Hi, welcome back. My name's Dave. Thanks for watching A Plan to Sell Your Home. Today I'm going to cover three main themes. Barriers of why a house hasn't sold or why houses don't sell. Marketing, which is going to help you understand the strategies that are used in selling a home. And then the importance of communication between a real estate agent and a seller. Out of respect for time, I'm going to go quick through some of the slides. I don't want to make it a slide presentation. Sometimes I understand meeting with a real estate agent isn't the most exciting thing that you want to do. I kind of refer to it as meeting with a dentist. You got something you got to get done. You don't really want to go there. You don't really want to see them, but you need that tooth fixed. Same thing with a real estate agent. I understand you want to sell your home. So what I'll do is I'll cover the main topics. This presentation is for you to understand me and also get some tips on how to sell a home. And then if you meet with me or a real estate agent, I can learn more about you at that point. So here's some of the topics on this presentation. It's goals, marketing, pricing strategy, preparing the property for sale, and then also tell you a little about who I am. So identifying the goals is important. Understanding for a real estate agent how quick you want to sell, what the motivation is for selling, if you're motivated to sell or if you're not motivated, if you just want to put it on the market and see what happens. But then understanding the expectations from both sides, from the real estate agent's expectations, but most importantly from the seller's expectations. And then having good communication, setting time frames, helping with relocation, understanding the marketing plan that the agent's doing, previous home selling experience from the seller. What experience have you had? Have you had good experiences or bad experiences? There's a lot of questions that I ask. I want to understand where that seller is coming from and understand the whole story. I look at this going into a business proposition with a seller. We're in a business together. We're trying to sell your home together, so we need to understand each other and where we're coming from and be able to communicate well together. You never have two business partners that don't communicate or not on the same page. Sometimes you meet somebody and it's not a good mix. So to understand that early. So appreciating the property is important. You want to make sure that that in that listing and that marketing, that the reason you bought that property is the reason somebody else is going to buy it. Is it by a golf course? Is it right next to a park or not by a park? But you're marketing those, and you can do that through videos, through your description, also through your pictures. Sometimes it's taking pictures of that community. Maybe it's a golfing community. Maybe it's a closed area that you can promote that there. So here's the home selling process. It's the initial consultation. A lot of times I go over some of this in the initial consultation. That's the part that it's kind of like meeting with a dentist. You don't really want to do it, but you know you got to do it. So we got some of that out of the way. So if you watch this video, I can come in and we can talk about about you. I don't have to tell you as much about me because you've already seen my marketing plan. You've already seen what I'm going to do. Now we can talk about price. We can talk about where we need to get to and get the house marketed. Get it on the listings and get it sold. So we're already beyond that point. So designing a marketing plan, I'll go over that in a minute here. There's also, we're going to review a listing agreement. If what an agent does is if that agreement comes in, that you can negotiate a price and negotiate the deal. Completing the process is going through inspections and the whole the process of it. And then there's after sales service. If you have any questions, I can provide you with, or your real estate agent can provide you with storage units or moving assistance or whatever it might be at that point. So marketing your property. This is what I get passionate about. This is what I think is important. This is what sets people, different agents apart and different agencies apart. Some agencies will list a property, and that's all they do. They put it on the MLS or they put a sign in the yard, and some of them go as cheap as putting a sign in the yard, and there's no marketing whatsoever. The goal of selling a property is to get more people to see that property. The more people you have that see the property, the bigger amount of people you have of possibly buying. So if you just put a sign or you just put it on the MLS, you're not getting a lot of traffic. I'll go over some tips that will help increase the number of people that are seeing the property, but then also tracking that. It's important to know what's working and what's not working. If you do a billboard up, you might see your business increase, but you can't tell if it's directly, maybe right when that billboard goes up, your business goes up by 5%. That would be a significant, you'd be able to see exactly what that return on investment is. All my marketing goes back to a web page or back to something where I can track it. So I'll do postcards. And I'll show you an example of a postcard in a minute, but that postcard leads the people that see that postcard back into my web page so I can see if that's being effective. My Facebook marketing campaign, I do sponsored ads, which is basically a paid ad, and you can directly market it to who you want to see it. That leads back into my web page, so I can track that also. So all my marketing is traceable back to if it's being effective, so I can change it. And I can run multiple ads at the same time and see which ones are working so I can spend more time and effort, the ones that are pulling more people interested people into that, and then have great pictures, great videos, great showing the house. Once they get into that and they see it, they can understand the property before they come and view it. So you're not getting a bunch of people that aren't interested. You're also getting people that are more educated. The more you educate somebody on a property, the better chance they are of buying it. So what I do is postcards, yard signs. Yard signs are important because you need to have the right size sign for the yard. So if you're in a street that does 60 miles per hour, you want to have a big billboard or bigger sign versus just a small yard sign. And it needs to be reflective so you can see it at night. There's a lot of things. You have different directionals. If you're close to a busy road, it's important to have a directional off that busy road so people might see if there's a house for sale. You might be driving past that every day, and that's twice as close to work for them as where they're driving now, and they've been looking, but they haven't found anything. So now they see that sign, they drive by, and they give the agent a call. So that's some of the aspects of that. Here's national advertising. National advertising is Berkshire Hathaway, so the fastest growing real estate company in the nation. You can learn more about that at the website, www.berkshirehathaway.com. Internet. Here's how I track a lot of it. I use 20219 as my web page that I manage, and I draw most of my marketing back into that page so that I can track if it's being effective, which I spoke about a minute ago. So I've had 16, this says 16,000 in the last 30 days. I've had more than that. I've had closer to 45 or 50,000 in the past 30 days now since I printed this slide. But here's the Facebook sponsored ad. And how this works is I can take your property, I can sponsor it on Facebook, and I can directly market it to people that are interested in real estate. But what's more interesting than that is I can directly market them by income, by just married, by different characteristics of them, by what the internet is tracing on them and following of them on their habits of searching through sites like Zillow or Trulia. If they're doing that, they're interested in real estate. And depending on, I can even go through rented, if they're renting at the current time and they're looking to buy. So I can directly market it to that property. Depending on if it's $1 million property, I can go for people with higher incomes and higher net worths. So it's very valuable on that marketing. What's really great about that too is when you run those ads, you see Zillow and Trulia, their numbers of interest go up too. So you know people are picking up their phone and going, oh, what's this house? And they're putting the address into Zillow to check it on Zillow to see what might be coming up on and get more information through there. So not only do I hit them on my site, but you can see it increase on the other sites too. What's interesting in that same aspect is a lot of times you have the homes that I love expired listings. What an expired listing is a home that didn't sell with another agent. They had it for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be, and it never sold. So now they're out looking for another agent. I like those listings because I can look back and see what they did, see how much marketing they did. Did they market that property, and how many times was it viewed on Zillow, and when was it viewed on Zillow? I can go back and see when it got a lot of hits, and then when it didn't. So I can go back and figure out what was working and what wasn't, and then market that. What's neat about that too is on those expired listings is If you're good at expired listings, it's easier to sell a normal home that hasn't been on the market for a long time than it has than one that's been on the market. So what you can use is you can use video to go through the property. You can have more detailed professional photography, which we'll go over in a minute, and that helps sell that. So here's one that was on Facebook. Over the past week, there was 17,000 post reaches on this one. But what's even more interesting is post engagements, almost 2,600 post engagements when I pulled this up. So people were talking about the homes that were listed on the Facebook, and they were discussing them. Here's an example of a postcard. 2,000 of these postcards went out. This is a postcard that will draw them back to my, so when I send this postcard out, I can see how many people are interested in this home or the postcard or how effective it's been by what they're drawing back into the web page. So how many people go back to 11311delaware.com will show me how effective that marketing. That's a unique .com address to that property. So when that postcard drops, I can see how effective I'm being and if I'm doing a good job on that marketing aspect. So here's after a Facebook ad. So I ran a Facebook ad, and then I drew people back into that Facebook ad. And what they did is, on the day it was posted, 3,946 people viewed that Facebook, that clicked on this site on the Facebook to pull them into my site. The next day, 3,582. So in 2 days, I had 7,550 people go into Facebook, and it's all, as you can see, it's all from Facebook. That's how I track them. That's how I see if it's being effective. That was an extremely effective marketing plan. So that's how I'll go back into there and market a property. Anybody can do this. This is going to be doing for sale by owner. The only problem is to set up the web pages and set everything up is cost effective. It's costly. So when you're doing it for multiple properties, you can do it more cost effective. You can do 2,000 postcards relatively inexpensive when you're doing a high volume of postcards and you're sending out a lot. If you want to just send out 100, you're looking at $1 a piece or more because the 52 the postage charge and then the cost of just printing 100 postcards. But if you're doing it in volume, you can get a lot more cost effective for that volume. So here's Zillow. You're looking at this is interesting because I have a house. This house was sold earlier in the year. The home next to it sold 4 or 5 months prior to it. It was 2 doors down. And it sold for $20,000 less than this one sold for, and it took twice as long to sell. And if you look at Zillow, you can look at the number of shoppers and the percentage of shoppers. Zillow was telling me 382% more people viewed this listing than they did comparable properties. Same price, same area, comparable to this property. Why are so many more people viewing my property versus the other ones? What I did, super simple. I sent out postcards. I had appropriate signage. I advertised it on Facebook. I spent the money to get that property exposure, and it paid off on Zillow. It paid off on Realtor. It paid off on selling price, and it paid off on the amount of time it took to sell that property. It takes a well-organized marketing plan to sell homes quickly and at a higher price. So here's a listing presentation I went on in this neighborhood. This neighborhood within the circle had 3 homes for sale in it. So with those 3 homes, when I pulled up the map off of Zillow, not one of them came up on the listing on the map for Zillow. None of them were being advertised on Zillow. And there was 3 for sale. Zillow is the #1 searched website on web using information to find information about homes. Its information is horrible, but it's a great site for searching for homes because its interface is really easy to use. But as you can see here, 3 of them, over $300,000 homes, aren't even on Zillow. So they're not even getting views from that Zillow. So really important to make sure that an agent is updating their information, and if there's a problem, that they're finding that problem and they're fixing it, and they're making sure it's listed. I actually called these agents and let them know, and they updated them. So, I mean, it's just, I would hate to have something of mine out there, and if somebody noticed and not tell me about it. So I definitely will give them a hand and give them help with that. So seller's advantage. Here's some information that we send back to a seller. So what we're going to do is we pull that information, and then as a seller, they'll get emails and information back to them on how that house is being viewed. Sometimes those calls aren't fun. Maybe it's slowed down on the number of views we're getting, but it has to be, that communication has to be open so you understand where you're at and what's going on. You want to sell your home in the first 100, the average, at least in the market right now, is about 130 days on market. You want to sell that in that 130 days. If not, it starts being on too long. And if it's on too long, and all neighborhoods differ. Higher price homes might take a little bit longer if they're over $500,000. Depending on that property and what it has to offer, it has a different amount of time that can be on the market. And that's where your real estate agent can go over that with you and explain how long your solds in your neighborhood have been on the market and how much they've sold for, so you can have an idea of pricing. So marketing plan, I just lay out on the days what we do, what day we do what. This is a 30-day schedule, how that schedule looks. Pricing, extremely important. Condition, location, and size is what's going to make the pricing, determine your price that you're available to sell for. You want to look at sold. You want to be able to see what's sold in the property. That's the realistic expectation of where other properties have sold, how much they've sold for, and how long they've been on the market for. That's what you need to understand when you're selling property. You got to get those solds and understand those solds. The real estate agents is, if you're a business partner and you have another partner that might think differently from where you're at, you got to let them know. You got to give them the inside and explain to them why you see it different than they do. And sometimes you get into property, especially ones that haven't sold, you get into those and you look at them and you go, well, it's price. They're $10,000, $30,000 above the next house in this entire neighborhood. And why are they trying to sell it for $30,000 more than any houses, or $50,000 more than any house in this neighborhood? And then you look at the marketing and go, well, I don't see any reason why they're trying to sell it. It doesn't look much different in the pictures. It doesn't. And if you're selling more than any other house in the neighborhood, it should be in the marketing of why. Is it the only one that's sitting on a lake and you have a lakefront property? Expect it to show that lake. Whatever it might be, is your property size 3 acres when every other lot in that area is a quarter acre? Tell me, and that marketing should explain why you're asking more and be able to show why you're asking more, and why if it deems necessary to sell it for more, or if it's just overpriced. So important to make sure you go through that. And here's another thing about price that's really important. Let's say you overprice. That first 4 weeks, as you can see in this chart, is the most important time that you have on that. So you want to make sure you're priced well, because most people show interest in the first 4 to 5 weeks. If you get past that, the interest goes down. You can do postcards, you can do videos, you can do Facebook sponsored ads, you can spend the money, but you have to spend money to get people re-interested in that property. And you got to show them why you bought the property. Why did you buy the property? I need to show them what's interesting about that property and why that property should be looked at and sold. Here's the other thing. If you find somebody that will pay a higher price, the person getting the loan is most likely getting a loan for that property. And if they're getting a loan for that property, they're going to probably get an appraisal. If you get an appraisal, the bank is going to tell you what that house is worth, and then you're going to be back negotiating. A lot of times from the seller's side, you're going to lower the price, because even if you lose this deal, you're going to go into another transaction and they're going to appraise it again, and it's going to be lower. It's going to be the same price, and you're going to be renegotiating again. You're never going to sell. So you want to make sure that it's priced well. It's priced well at the beginning, and if it's not, that you're marketing it on the later end so you can get it sold. Okay, dangers over pricing. I think I covered that. Preparing the property. You've probably heard it a million times. It's important for people to be able to walk in a home and feel like it's theirs. Then and not too many. You got to remove personal items. You have to stage it so they can feel comfortable in that home. If there's too much personal items, they start seeing how people live versus envisioning how they're going to live in that house. So it's important to have a minimal amount of personal items in the home. And I got a list of stuff that you can do to help that too. So I don't want to spend a bunch of time on that. You could probably pull that off the internet also. So here's the marketing, the postcards and everything pulling people in is important, but what they're pulled into is also important. So you want to see photos that aren't blown out in the background, that aren't just of walls or the worst, toilets. You got to have professional photography done. It has to be a wide angle lens to kind of take in that whole room and be able to understand what the purpose of that area is. Now, this is a beautiful looking home. It's just pretty poor pictures because it's blown out in the background, and it's kind of distracting on the way it's set up. It's also probably too high. You got to make sure it's at the right level. So here's a more professional done photo. The camera angle is middle of the room, but it also points out the beautiful hardwood floors, new trim, lots of outdoor light coming in, but not blowing it out to where you can't see the picture well. You also, what's nice about this is you can do videos, and if you do videos, you can have it where you're not seeing the wallpaper, you're not seeing the color because you're explaining what you're telling the video of what you want them to see versus what they're looking at in that photo. So you can point out attributes that you want them to be aware of. So here's a picture of a bathroom. Obviously, there's no personalized use items, washcloths, toothbrushes, things that are going to distract from that beautiful bathroom. So who are we? I think I've shown you what my standards are in marketing and tracking and communication. What we do is I have a bachelor's degree. I'll go you a little bit. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time on that. I have a bachelor's degree from Indiana University. I've been 18 years in the restaurant business prior to going into real estate. I've negotiated contracts. I feel comfortable negotiating contracts. I did it for a living for a long time. I'm involved in the Chamber of Commerce in the area. I'm very involved in the community with my family and with business. So here's we've been Berkshire Hathaway with this. Our agency has been in the Porter County for over 30 years. We're developed in Lake and Porter County. We're an active member of Chamber of Commerce. So here's network strengths. I can send you all that. What's important of the video is to understand the barriers of selling. Marketing strategies aren't all the same. And then the importance of communication with the real estate agent. If you're interested in hearing more or talking to me, I'd be happy to talk to you. You already understand, if you watch the video, understand where I'm coming from. So we're past that stage and we can kind of talk about what you need to do to get your house sold. So give me a call, text me or email me. I'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time to view the video. I look forward to talking to you. Thank you. Bye.